Okay, well, today I have a beautiful guest who is an amazing humanitarian. She has apparently won a lot of awards, which we can ask her about as well. But her name is Kelly Markey, and she has a organization called Beacon of Hope. And I was drawn to Kelly and her work because she is doing a lot of service for humanity in different ways. And I always find people that do this type of work very inspirational. I think it leads a good example to other people that are listening. It empowers other people to hear stories of people that are making a difference. And as such, I'm so happy to have you here, Kelly. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'd love to hear you share a little bit about yourself. And we'll start with, what you're doing. You have an organization called Beacon of Hope. And so I'm really excited to explore what that's all about and all the ways that you're making a difference in the world.
Well, thank you, Medina. I really gratefully appreciate the opportunity for you to have me on your platform. It's wonderful to, share space with the like-minded individuals of the world. Yes, so I am the founder of Beacon of Hope mission, which is a social change mission that's global. And I'll give you a bit of backstory on how it started. So before Beacon of Hope began, I became an author and a successful author. And that as well happened, through COVID in lockdown. It was born in lockdown. And my first book, Don't Just Fly, saw my memoir took the world by storm. People were reading it and identifying, with them in the story. It was raw, it was tangible, and people related in a profound way. And I got amazing feedback. And from there, more books were born. And then, unfortunately, in 2023, I lost my brother to suicide. And I felt like, you know, crawling under a rock and remaining there. But again, I felt compelled to use my voice to bring this to the forefront. And I wrote a book on suicide awareness and prevention. And that book won Top Book of the Year and was showcased in New York Times Square. And I remember standing there feeling broken from, how this was birthed, but also seeing the impact and seeing it on New York Times Square. And I had a colleague slash friend that attended the event in New York from my primary school, which is all the way in South Africa. And she now lives in London. And she made it to New York. And she looked at me with tears running down her face. And she said to me, I don't know anyone who's been on the New York Times Square billboard. And here you are from, the little town we come from, Chigala, which is a microscopic dot on the map. Like, yeah, you may, it's not just about you. You've done this for the entire country. You've done this for the world. And it didn't really sink in, Medina, but when I came away from that and I thought and I reflected, and also before I went to New York, I had a podcast with a renowned podcast host. And when I finished on that podcast, I had goosebumps because people were contacting me from all over the world. And there was a guy that had tuned in, and he had made up his mind to end his life on that day in the US. And after he listened to the podcast, he called in to the host and he said, I've decided not to end my life just by that conversation I've just heard.
Wow.
And it impacted me in a profound way. So from that, Beacon of Hope was born. And I thought, I need to take this mission around the world because even if it saves one life, it matters.
Mm.
Every life matters, and we're doing it in different parts of the world, but also giving opportunity to people, like average people that wouldn't have the opportunity to bring their lived experience to a platform and share with the world. So I can dive a little bit deeper about what we've done from there.
I think to bring something that is such sort of a tragic thing that's occurred in your own life, and to utilize that for the good to help others is incredibly profound and brave, to be able to do that. So good on you for being able to transform that. And it doesn't take away, of course, of the grief and the difficulty of that experience, but you've managed to make it into something that's going to help other people. So I think that is really, really wonderful. And I know, just in my own experience, when I had a baby pass at birth, I spent after that 3 months writing. I just wrote and wrote and wrote, and I found that was incredibly cathartic as well. To be able to get a pen and paper and just write. And so it's also a very healing thing to do, to be able to write and express yourself, I think, after something like that happens too. So, my hat goes off to you there, Kelly. And, condolences, of course, for your loss. So this incredible series of books that you have written, I'm going to leave the links below for anyone watching that wants to follow up the books that you've written. Could you tell me why you actually started, I think, a publishing house based on your experience as an author and wanting to help give a voice to other people?
Absolutely. So, thank you, Medina, firstly, for sharing your experience, in terms of what you went through. I appreciate that. Not everyone can, bring that to a platform or share authentically. And I hear you and I see you. And it's good to identify. Thanks. And my condolences to you as well.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I had a few experiences with publishers, a few in Australia. And then I took my next book. I thought, I've had enough of bad experiences in Australia. I'm taking it to, get my next book published in the USA. And the experience was no different. And also, I work in a corporate environment, for over 30 years. I already had the due diligence in terms of providing a world-class product. I already knew about providing a service that met service level agreements, and I feel like I was working with rookies who didn't know A from Z, and they would say, okay, we can do this, we can offer you this, and I was shocked with the service I was receiving. And I thought, no, this is not how you work. My background is medical IT, and basically what I do is design and implement medical software. So we start right at the beginning where we are looking at the client's needs and we do a request for proposal. So I'm aware of the service level agreements, what the requirements are. I can hit, legislation and everything that's required. So I got that robust mindset, and I'm building state of the art health systems around the world. And I couldn't put up with sloppy work coming from publishers, and I thought, okay, I can do this myself. And most of the time I was actually getting the manuscript so profoundly formatted and everything, and I'm just handing it to them to say, here, it's on a platter, and they still struggled. So that was one reason, in terms of the facet of why I moved into creating my own publishing house. But I also found that lots of publishers out there, their model is based, and like most business, it's all about money and the money grab. And that's what I felt like when I wanted to author a book. It was just a money grab.
Mm.
And I didn't want to be another money grab. What I wanted was to genuinely bring stories to life and be that beacon of hope and take it to the world. And at that point, I was still working in my day job. So I had my income, for my livelihood. Beacon of Hope was to bring that light to the world. And I met authors from around the world that, even before I established the business, were reaching out to me, and they were like, can you help me write my book? Can you help me format my book? Can you help me do this? Can you help me get my prose? I was inundated with requests, and I was like, yeah, why not, turn this into a lucrative business. And that's when I established my public writing house, which is called Markey Writing Academy. And out of that, we have Beacon of Hope, which takes so each year we do an anthology which has about 20 authors from around the world, giving them the opportunity to share their lived experience and how it brings motivation and inspiration to the world. And I've had amazing, stories from everywhere. Last year we had a book entitled Echoes of Humanity, and I had a co-author from Africa who had three children that were disabled. And eventually her family said to her, I think you are cursed. You should kill all these children. And
Oh,
when I was reading her chapter, yeah, I was in tears and I was like, wow, how does this woman do it? And she works full time.
oh,
So what I'm talking about. And, we can sit here and we could think, life is difficult for us in the developed world, but we have the likes of NDIS and all of that. In the undeveloped world, we don't have that. And,
mm,
and others have to scramble. And on top of that, there's the stigma, the culture that they're born into. People tell them, this is a curse. How are you living with it? There's all that added on to them, even when they don't have the financial and the emotional support.
mm,
So there's so much that, just by me listening to her prose and her story and her lived experience gave me, and it gave her a voice, and it made her feel like, what, I can take this to the next level where I can actually become a beacon of hope to challenge the way we do things in our local community, but also in our country, to instigate legislative changes and stuff like that. And it all starts with you and me.
yes, absolutely. And I will attest to that. When you're trying to source publishers, it's a minefield. There's so much out there, and you don't know what has integrity, what doesn't have integrity. What works, what doesn't work. It's huge for people that are trying to publish because you know I'm in that process myself, and so I know exactly what you're talking about there. You have to be very, very discriminating and discerning about what you choose to go forward with, because it is an area where there are a lot of sharks, I think, trying to take advantage. So that was a great point. And yes, you're working with many communities. You were talking about there, and also in South Africa, because you mentioned at the beginning South Africa is the place where you were born. So tell me a little bit more about your community work with different communities in South Africa and also obviously Australia. What are some of the things that with like Beacon of Hope is doing for those communities?
Yes, sure. So I work in collaboration with Lifeline Zululand in South Africa. I've worked with them for a few years now, since I actually became an author, and since I've established Beacon of Hope, and working in collaboration to, do projects that at grassroots level, be involved in the local stuff. I've taken my books every time I've gone to South Africa to do a local book tour and have multiple, tours within the community and bring that tangible hope. Also reached out to their community in terms of those that having the lived experience to write in the book and give them a platform to amplify their voice. Also, when authors co-author in the book, we have our award ceremony at the end of the year, so that amplifies their message and their brand as well. So I've given the staff within Lifeline that opportunity to be co-authors and to win awards and all of that. So, they were part of the award ceremony that was in New York when we had our first Beacon of Hope. I've worked with other organizations within South Africa when South Africa has gone through a horrible flood, and working with the grassroots organizations. Also, they had a horrible tornado that ripped through the Indian community, and they were left without any resources for years, not months, years. And
Mm.
it, yeah, trapped in so much of red tape. And then we've had
What part of South Africa was that where you had the floods? Ah.
The floods was in KwaZulu-Natal, the tornado as well, KwaZulu-Natal around Durban, and uh, and then also when we were in lockdown, most people are unaware of this because it wasn't really covered in mainstream media. But South Africa went through almost a genocide where there was horrible, and I wrote about this a whole chapter in my book entitled Making Sage Decisions. So there was like a riot because of the president, being in contempt and not wanting to go to court and stuff like that. So a riot broke out and they targeted the Indian demographics where they were just looting and killing. There was no shops left.
Oh,
There
wow.
was no, there was no place to buy bread. And if you look,
Mm.
the GDP of the country went down because they basically. So I worked with people in that community to help bring stability and all of that. I've also worked during COVID times for people that didn't have the basics, when just getting food to people was difficult. I've worked with orphanage in South Africa as well, and many other communities with grassroots people that have reached out to me. I've worked with other communities outside South Africa. So when Nepal had their major disaster as well, and then I work with a lot of children as well in terms of getting them educated, like in Uganda, the model of sponsoring a child. So I sponsor a whole family in Uganda that sends the children to school and equip them to have a brighter future, but not just, thinking about that generation. I also am involved with the parents where I give them the opportunity to build their own business. So they have like a local shop that they sustain an income and can build. So, they take in from the community and multiply that and have a livelihood. So they don't have to be dependent on an organization or a human being forever. So, the saying is, instead of giving a person a fish, you teach them to fish, and
Yes.
you life rather than a day. So that's the model that I'm trying to replicate around the world and, bring hope and take to humanity.
It's phenomenal how much you've been doing, all these different places, and really, it's a global thing. Like you say, right around the world, wherever that people are needing it, you're you're stepping up. It's such an inspiration. How do people who are inspired to do this type of work, how do they move forward to do? Speaking of replicating, to replicate what you're doing, to be able to make that difference. I mean, for one thing, I guess they can contact you and see how they can help in that way. But how do other people do the things that you're doing and make the difference that you're doing? What would you say to people that are inspired to make that difference themselves?
I think every little thing counts, Martina. It's you walking down the road, and if you could see someone needs help, if they're struggling to push their trolley
Mm,
or their car door, you could do that. You don't need me to tell you,
mm,
uh, do that and I'll take a photo and we can post it online. That's not how it works, right? It's you. And if you know that's your calling and you have that beacon within you, you will be a beacon of hope. You will shine no matter where you are. But
mm.
some people don't have it. They, some people think life is all about
Service,
gaining
service
for
to
them.
self, as opposed to service to others. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. In terms of, for me, when we actually launched Beacon of Hope, it was in New York, and we had a intimate group of people, and there were people from all over the world that actually came to the event. So I had people from the UK. I had a colleague from who is a solicitor and a top of the guru in her own field, and in what she does. And at the end of the conference, she said to me, I've been to so many conferences around the world and in the UK. I've never experienced something like this. It tangibly uh, invoked something in them. And then there were people, from the US, there's people that traveled from Australia as well. And even now, after almost a year, I still get comments from the people that were in the room saying, I loved the the authentic stories. I loved the whole atmosphere. I loved the intimacy, and I loved, the challenge of being a beacon of hope. And at the end of when I did my keynote, at the end, I passed on a candle that each one had to hold and ponder, how do I want to be a beacon of hope? But not just here and now. In the past, what have I done to reflect, but
Mm.
also to be proactive for the future? And it was amazing. And people came out of that telling me, you know what, we've got this vision and we've got this hope, and I want to be part of that. And just a few weeks ago, a lady that was at the conference sent me a message on, she actually put a comment on social media, and she's, while I'm advertising for this year, and this year we are in South Africa, and she said, I still cannot get over the event in New York, and I wish I could attend this year. And it just brought a tear to my eye. And another lady that was actually a keynote in New York, and she's from New York. She's traveling all the way this year to South Africa.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
she's making that difference. And then I met someone in South Africa that does eco culture. So basically recycling, from stuff and repurposing so that we can bring hope to the local community, giving ladies the opportunity to generate income, but also, not having an adverse effect on our environment with all this huge waste. So recycling these things. And she reached out to me and she's like, I'd love to work with you because this is about bringing hope to the community and you are bringing hope. So can we work in concert? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's work in concert. So sorry, I just need to take a drink.
Absolutely. Uh, so for people that are watching, they might be inspired to contact you with some ideas as well. So is that something that you're open to, for people to contact you and share their humanitarian goals or missions with you? Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm working with this lady in South Africa. I haven't met her as yet, but we've built up rapport so far with what's happening. So she's part of the event in South Africa, and she's actually designing my outfit for the event for the gala night, and it's based on recycled fabric, everything. And she's making my jewelry, she's making my handbag, everything with recycled. So
Ah, fantastic. I mean, there's so many ways, aren't there, that you can make a difference in the world. There's no limit to what people can do that would be powerfully, be able to shift humanity forward. There's so much opportunity. You've just got to be creative, I think, with your ideas of what you want to bring to the world. And so, when did you start? What age were you when you really stepped into all this humanitarian work? Can I ask that question? Was it something that came with a level of maturity, or is it something that you've always been doing?
that's a great question. Thank you. Because I was just thinking about that the other day. I think it runs in your veins, right?
Sure.
So I'll give you a little backstory. I remember when I was in primary school, and I had two brothers, right? They're older than me, not very much older than me. So I was the youngest one, and from the three of us, but I have other siblings as well. And I found them one day. Well, we used to get this thing like a show bag kind of thing that you used to get in the shops. It was called a lucky packet. So you get candy in it, and you would get a toy, like the Kinder Joy kind of thing, but it came in a packet. And a lot of time it was just those, toys like you get in McDonald's kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they magnifying glass, and they would play the game, both my brothers,
Yeah.
of getting the magnifying glass and getting the sun's ray through the magnifying glass, and they would follow the ants on the ground, basically scorching them alive. I
Oh,
know.
great.
And make a heap and then have a competition to see who can kill them. And I saw them, Medina, and I was like shocked. And I was like, how dare y'all? What are y'all doing to the ants? They didn't do anything to y'all. They are innocent. Why are y'all doing that? And I was like, you'll need to stop that. And they were both like sheepishly looking at me. And obviously, as soon as I turned, they started again. And when I caught them again, I was like almost in tears. And I was like, you can't do that. It's not right. You are not doing the right thing for humanity and for those poor ants. How can you live with yourselves? And they were like, okay, we'll stop. I was like, you're going to give me your magnifying glass? And they're like, no, okay, we still want to play with it, but we won't kill the ants. And now I look back and I think, as a child, and I was only a child then in primary school, now I'm an adult and I'm a founder of Beacon of Hope. But it started there because I was
Yes.
bringing
Yeah.
it's in you. And even before I founded this foundation, there were so many things I've done for humanity. And, I wrote about some of it in my memoir. That was before all of this was born. I think it just kind of bloomed and went into a different direction, and it's going into a brighter, bigger direction as time progresses.
Brilliant. It's such a wonderful thing to be able to talk to you about everything that you're doing, because it's exactly what my channel is about. Arise Humanity. It's about, really stepping up and looking at the bigger picture of what does the world need, and then being able to offer that. And you're doing that in so many ways. So I would love to know if you can share with me something positive that you're feeling about the world at the moment, because there is a lot of negativity out there, obviously, at the moment. A lot of fear porn, a lot of information about how the world is changing, but it's a very sort of divisive time for a lot of people, a very chaotic time. So what's something positive that you're seeing in the world at the moment? Do you see that there is more people stepping into their humanitarian service to others? Do you think that people's hearts are opening? What's something positive that you're seeing at the moment?
Another great question, Medina. Thank you. So, genuinely, what I'm seeing, if I have to be honest with you and totally frank, people are very self centered. I think, post COVID, there are a few genuine people. And, if I may, I could get a little bit deeper to answer this, and I'll share how I've seen impact in terms of this situation. So in January, I was diagnosed with cancer. And when I was diagnosed, I was working for a World Gorilla organization. So this is a global organization. And ironically, I was actually hired to build the first lung cancer register for Australia, working with the Department of Health as well. And then I was working on another project. But when I announced to my manager, this is what is happening, the whole organization ghosted me. It was almost, and I was still there, like had my contract, and
That's
and then
awful. As a
yeah,
response to you telling them that. Wow.
so yeah, even though my contract was up for renewal, and I had already got confirmation that my contract was going to get renewed, and this is an organization that champions health and
Mm,
especially cancer.
mm,
I was shocked. I didn't know how to deal with it, and I thought, okay, I have bigger fish to fry, and I moved into that. But also, I saw in my own personal remit and network, there were people that didn't know how to deal with it, because people don't know how to deal with mortality issues. It slaps them in the face. It slapped me in the face, and I was shocked because there were people in my life that I thought would navigate through life for the rest of my life. We would do life forever, and they would hold my hand through the journey. But they just ghosted me.
mm.
And I've had friends that actually said to me, if you need anything, let me know. And I was like, I've been there for them, like bent over backwards. I've
Yes.
given people, so much of tangible things and tangible hope and, spiritual, emotional, everything. And for someone to say this to me when I'm navigating through cancer, and that person hasn't reached out, never, not once.
Sure.
Ask,
Sure.
you need
So disappointing, isn't it? Especially when you're doing the opposite and they're doing that. But I guess it reveals their true sort of character deep down, doesn't it, in a sense, those sort of situations.
exactly. And I think when we go through this in life, you get to reflect and you get to see and you get to understand here and now in this life. Yeah, not everyone that tells you that they are for you is really for you, because you get to see in that crisis. But the other thing I found was that I don't have any family here. All my family is in South Africa, so I'm by myself, and I'm married to an Australian. So the community, most of my network and nucleus is offshore. But what I found is that amidst in all of that, I had to find my own anchor point. And
Right.
I think when we've come out of COVID as well, and when we were in the thick of COVID, people struggled because they couldn't find that anchor point within themselves. They've never had to dig deep where they had to find their own resilience and, stuck to the bottom of the well, and then you have to kick to come up for air. And
Mm.
I found that. And again, I think people thought that the situation was going to knock me out. And I think I surprised a few people that I'm still standing here, because I've got comments that people said to me, "You make cancer look glamorous." But I also have someone this week that has been in my family recently diagnosed with a rare type of cancer, and it's so far gone that they cannot have treatment. So,
I'm sorry.
this,
Mm.
yeah, thank you. This person is looking at my journey and seeing how
You're
I
dealing with it. Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
they've grabbed it and they are doing the same thing. And for me, I'm like, wow, if I had to go on this journey to help other people, then I'm seeing it. And you know what? There's the saying, you go out and you preach to the world, but use words if you have to. And I didn't use words to speak to this person about saying, you need to do ABC, blah, 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 1, 2, 3, now that you've diagnosed and it's critical. They were just watching me.
Ah, and needing that mentoring, that role model to be able to know how to navigate it. That's incredible.
Yeah, so, in regards to your question, what I'm seeing and, the positivity, if there's any out there, yes, humanity still has amazing human beings. And that is what fuels my soul. That's what gives me the wind, beneath my wings to see that in the 99 that don't show up, there's the one that does show up, and they are so genuine. So I've had a friend, I've had a few that, have genuinely been there, but there's been one that I would mention that never left my hand and, was there, prayed for me every day. And I know, like if I was her own child.
Mm,
Not
beautiful.
one, I don't know. We don't share DNA.
Mm.
And
But soul family, and sometimes soul family can be more profound than birth family, because there's the resonance where you're so aligned and you empathize with the person so much because you can really relate to them so well. And I think that we're seeing more instances now of people connecting as soul family. And sometimes birth families are not feeling that level of resonance in the same way as well. So that is something that I'm noticing.
absolutely. And yeah, the same, I felt that connection with you. It's been authentic, and thank you. And it feels like, you just gel and you can take it to the next level. So, in terms of what I'm seeing, to circle back, there's a lot of people are too busy, and we have our own woes. And very rarely when we get people that are actually willing, to step outside themselves and say, you know what, I'm here for you and I will do this with you.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is that rare gem.
Well, thank you for saying that, Kelly. That's beautiful. It's so wonderful to connect with you, and I hope that we have a long, ongoing connection. Supporting one another in what we're doing, because I'd love to be able to, do what I can to support, your wonderful work. And also, I really relate to the health wellness journey that you've been on too, because part of my channel is all about health and wellness, and so many people at the moment are feeling the need to really find alternate ways and more ways to really support their own health. It's such an important thing right now. So I just think to finish up, Kelly, we've had such a substantial conversation about really meaningful things here, and we've covered so much actually just in a short amount of time. It would be great to do another chat a little bit down the track for sort of seeing how you're going, your journey, and how Beacon of Hope is going as well. And all my prayers go to you at the moment for your journey, your cancer journey, and I hope that with your incredible resilience and your spirit, that you'll be able to, use that inner anchor that you talk about to tap into to rise above and just overcome it. And I can see that that could be something you could very easily do with the type of person that you are. So, prayers to you for that, Kelly. So with your organization, is it a really big one in terms of how many people are involved, or is it a small team or a big team? How big is it?
Thank you for that. Yeah, great question. So it depends where we are and what we're doing, who's getting involved. So, the skeleton team is not huge, but it depends on the projects we're getting involved in and, the networks that come in. So at the moment, working in collaboration with Lifeline. So we have, the resources with them and taking it to the next level. And next year, the anthology is entitled Manifesto of Hope. So we're inviting people from all over the world to share a chapter. And, that's at a cost because, we have to put back in the community. And that will be launched and the event will be in New Zealand. So it depends on who comes on board in terms of New Zealand. So that's how we channel the team and the project, what people are on board, what people want to share. So, with the likes of yourself, you are invited if you'd like to join us on board. So early in the year, we can, shape out our website. At the moment, we have our website that's kind of generic and have just a touch of the flavor of Lifeline. But next year, we'll streamline more with, those that we are collaborating with and taking hope around the world. So that's how we are working.
Incredible. All the things that you're doing are, as I've mentioned many times in the interview, so inspiring. And for someone out there thinking, oh, what a journey, you've had, and yet you're still doing all this to support others and to be of service to others. And that is in itself incredible. Uh, Kelly, lovely to chat with you and sharing your journey and your story and all the work that you're doing. If people want to contact you, what's the best way? Is it through the website to contact you?
Yes, you can jump on my website, and my email is kellymarkey.com. Kelly at kellymarkey.com. So, yeah, you would find that on the website. And I'm on socials, all the platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
And I encourage people to get on board with writing a chapter for the anthology as well about their journey of manifestation. That's a wonderful way to support what you're doing and also get your voice heard as well. Thank you, Kelly. So lovely to chat with you. And we'll chat again soon. And I look forward to seeing all the ways that you're making a difference as things unfold. And as I said, many, many prayers for perfect health, and hoping that the audience can maybe send you some lovely prayers as well, because you're giving so much to the planet. People can also give back to you in that way, and prayers are very, very powerful. So I'd love my audience who are watching to send you prayers as well. Thank you, Kelly. Beautiful to chat, and we'll chat again, hopefully not too far away.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I love the energy that you bring and what you're doing for the world as well. Thank you, Medina.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Kelly.